Second? Okay, go ahead.
Good day, everybody. Thank you for choosing FX Street for your live coverage of the NFP. You don't have to go through this alone. Get off your cliff and join the team. I'm joined with Mauricio and Valeria Bednarik, FX Street's chief strategist. Good morning, guys. Big number today.
Hi there, how are you? Hi Mauricio. Yeah, indeed, big one.
Yeah, good morning, Dale and Valeria. So, what's your guesses?
I'm hearing 230 is the average, up 230 is the average guesstimate. People are going to be paying attention to wages, anything that could, kind of put in cement that the Fed will do something in September. Perhaps we're going to be overshadowed today, though, by what's happening in Greece and Puerto Rico, etc. So one thing I've noticed, Val, a lot of things have filled the gap from Sunday night, but the S&Ps have not yet. Yeah. Indexes, I find that interesting.
Yeah, indexes are the only ones that have not filled the gap. In fact, the dollar-Japanese yen is barely there. Sorry.
Right.
Here. Yeah, we have a little more to go, up to 85. But anyway, most of the pairs have the except indexes. Nor the DAX nor the American ones have filled the gap. But I was thinking that the market may focus back also in unemployment rate because, last month, or previous month, in May, it ticked higher up to 5.5%. Nothing really serious, but above the previous 5.4%. And we are now waiting for it to come back to 5.4, so maybe that will also help the greenback. Anyway, as you have said, I believe that the effect on the market today will be pretty temporal. Market is obsessed with Greece and what's going on in there, and I don't think that we may get a conclusive market situation after the payroll, either if it's extremely good or extremely bad. We will turn back to Greece in less.
Yeah, almost the referendum on Sunday night, is that when it is? It seems to be what the market is hanging on to right now. And does it really matter, Val,
No.
whether it's a yes or no vote?
Yeah, I was about to say that. I really don't. I don't believe that the result of the referendum is what actually matters, but what really matters is that the rest of Europe, this Merkel, has said that they will resume negotiations with Greece after the referendum is done. So the referendum is the end of the pause in negotiations right now, and regardless if the no or the yes wins, they will start talking back on Monday. So it's not actually the result what matters, but what's going to happen afterwards.
Maybe we're to the point that Merkel and the IMF are just fed up and they want to let him go.
You believe so? They will let it go with all the money they have to collect from Greece? With the high risk they have exposed there, maybe the IMF can, but I don't think Germany will.
I'm reading a lot of things that actually the Eurozone would be better off without Greece, and that because yields haven't increased in Spain, Italy, Portugal, the other pigs during this crisis, that they believe it's contained, and maybe Greece was a bad trade for the Eurozone, and they're ready to put their stop loss in right here.
I'm not pretty sure. What I have read today is that Varoufakis says that if the yes won, he will resign, and that he'd rather cut his arm than to sign an agreement that does not include debt restructuring, because that's what Greece actually wants, right? A restructuration of its debt, and that's why what the IMF is not willing to do.
Yes. I believe Lagarde said, someone asked if she trusted her partners. They were talking about Greece, and she said, we cannot control who countries elect. That was her response.
Anyway, I do believe that we are going to see a little action coming from payrolls, and a couple of hours later, maybe go back to the Greek matter.
And the Puerto Rico issue is something that's weighing on traders here in the U.S. Hedge funds have a lot of exposure. The bond market, muni market, okay, because this would basically a lot of Puerto Rico debt is in the municipal bond market mix and can have repercussions for hedge funds taking hits, and if they take hits, maybe they're going to have to liquidate other assets to cover it. So Puerto Rico on the radar screen here in the U.S.
Okay, I have to be honest, I did not read much about what's the situation in there. Can you tell me?
Yeah, they're in a similar situation where they can't service their debt, and they passed a new tax act to attract money to Puerto Rico, and their budget is a basket case. They probably need a restructuring, a bailout. The U.S. said they're not going to come and bail out Puerto Rico. So hedge funds have a lot of exposure in Puerto Rican bonds right now, and they were betting on no default, no reorganization. I believe Puerto Rico made a payment on utilities yesterday, so that gave the market relief. But it's something that is at least as large as Greece to the U.S. in terms of exposure, and it's mainly the bond market.
But in Puerto Rico, didn't they adopt the American dollar as a legal currency? Don't they have a sort of an agreement?
Yes. Yeah, you don't. If you're a U.S. citizen, you don't even need a passport to go there. And yeah, they have U.S. law there. They use the U.S. dollar. But from news reports I've read, the U.S. the Fed is not going to come and bail out Puerto Rico. That's what they're saying right now.
Okay. Okay. The poor brother. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Anyway,
I'm a poor.
Euros, you see, the S&B is working hard in here. Yes.
You know, everyone's real constructive the dollar, and I talked all week about the pound having a chance to trade down towards that 540, 560 level. As I look at your charts right now, we're approaching some of these major support zones between here and 55 in the pound. And your shorter term charts was showing that this low compared to the low that we had about 4 candles ago on the 4 hour is not confirming. So anyone who took that forecast and got short the pound, good idea to cover pre-NFP here.
Yeah.
Just because the market's not at your objective, you don't try and milk the extra 30 pips, 40 pips out of it to risk 100 in a heartbeat. So I'm looking for reasons now to start buying the pound.
Yeah, I was thinking about pretty much the same. We have a really strong static support area in here, the 50% retracement of which rally post-elections. We have the 200 exponential, moving average in the forward chart, which tends to be quite a strong support resistance level, support in this case. So maybe if the report is a miss, this will be the better one to buy, you know. But if the report is huge and we lost 55.50, then I do agree with you. We may test 55 over the upcoming hours.
Yeah, and to me it looks like if the euro gives up the low it posted when the Swiss came in on Sunday night, next fib levels around 107.80, and 107.80 might be a good buying opportunity in the euro down there too. I still think that we're going to see 120 before we see under parity.
I don't expect under parity, but yeah, indeed, I'm thinking that if we have a positive reading today, we can retest the weekly low around 950, 960.
Yeah, I think they have to clean out the stops under that low that we had on your last chart. Was about 108.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
850.
low. Clean the stops out under that low made in mid-May.
Yeah, 110, one something.
Yeah, no, it looks like it's 108 around there. So I'm sure there's a ton of sell stops there. That'll turn everyone real bearish, and still thinking that we might post a higher low, and that would be our second higher low. So that's my view. It's very contrarian. Everyone loves the dollar again.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm
we're
thinking,
350 pips away, and so
yeah,
I don't see how we can get down there today. The lowest I can see the pair today will be 950. I don't know. It's a wait and see, right? We have
yeah,
plenty of
I'm flat.
out altogether, not just payrolls, but we have the weekly jobless claim reading, which today will not be much relevant because market uses it to anticipate payrolls, right? And we're going to have them all together. And I do believe that that's the most important reading will be payroll today at the moment of the release, and we have another manufacturing data and factory orders later on in the day. But market attention, of course, will be the employment report. Dollar-Japanese yen is advancing. Market is pretty bullish in the greenback ever since the ADP yesterday.
Yes.
They're pricing in a better report, right?
Yeah.
So if it's bad, the disappointment should be bigger than if it's actually good because the market has already priced in part of that strength in the November. Gold can keep.
In the market, good news might be bad news in the stock market.
Good news, maybe bad news.
Because people are starting to take the Fed rate increase off the table again because of what's happening in Europe. So, but a strong number is going to put the Fed in a box. They don't want to disrupt financial markets, and there's already some, dislocations in financial markets. But how are they going to avoid tightening if we get a big number like 300,000? And the stock market may not like that on top of all the other certainty. So
Yeah.
today's a key day for me in the stock market.
Yeah, you are
we can
right.
start close. Yeah, it's a key day for me there.
I was not thinking about that, but you have a good point in there.
Well, 10-year yields, I noticed the TLTs at new lows on the opening. So yields are testing the recent highs or making new highs. And that's part of the support of US dollar yen here.
Yeah.
But if I'm right and the market sells off, we might be close to some type of short-term peak in yields and some type of short-term peak in US dollar yen too. So I'm not sure if the yen's going to fail from 24 or we're going to retest the highs up around the 125.80 level. The bull case is still on for 128. But if you look at I believe it's a daily yen, Val, under this week's low, there's big problems on the US dollar yen.
Yeah.
Under this week's low.
Yeah, because we have previous highs in there.
I think that held the 50-day for me at the low a couple days ago.
Yeah, well, so, I see a clean 100 pips decline if we lost the low, because the pair will try to reach the 100 moving average around 21, 21.10.
The target's about 118 in my book.
Right here, this area, which was pretty strong. If we lost the 121, then it's likely.
Yeah. But I could see the bull's case too. I mean, we had pretty good momentum at the high there a month or so ago. Why not a retest?
Well, I'm not. I know that if the report is big and it's good, of course the dollar-Japanese yen will rise. But what I have been seeing in the pair is that it has in this month and this June, right? It has been having trouble to hold above the 24 figure. We have a couple of spikes, but it quickly retreated from there. So I'd like to see at least the close above 24.50 to call for a retest of the highs. As long as this level in the 24.50 area sellers keep coming, I don't feel happy buying the pair.
Hello, Khalid. Hi, 566. Jack says, Jack's our wild says Puerto Rico's #1 export are baseball players.
Okay.
So a lot of guys from the island made it to the big leagues here in the U.S. Yeah, the Euro 1 hour looks like a flag.
Yep.
You know,
This
the
is
pound though is starting to look interesting. You know, if you want to be short the yen, at least you have from the charts you were showing. I guess you'd have to get out over 440. Not a huge risk from here. But wait until after the number to do anything.
the New Zealand dollar is under strong pressure and it's dragging the Aussie lower. It has been in quite a decline in 8 weeks.
Yeah, that was the short of the year.
Yeah. I do believe that that's the New Zealand dollar which is waiting on Aussie today because I don't see a real catalyst for the Aussie right now. China data has been a bit disappointing, manufacturing PMI and so earlier this week, but I don't think that that's enough for the strong decline in Australian dollar. I rather believe that it's New Zealand dollar dragging it lower. Gold breaking below 1160 surely is not helping. Okay, we have what? 14 minutes to go, Dave. We don't have, okay. Usually we have the trade balance of the US alongside this report, but we don't.
Then we have jobless claims. 2.
Yes. Okay, there are a couple of questions. Let me take a look.
Getting a little tail in the yen and the pound, but it means nothing. Your charts mean nothing right now, everybody. Just want to give you a reality check.
Okay, someone is asking, please, I want to know how the US dollar will be when Nonfarm
So does
Payrolls
everyone else.
number.
Tell us, Val.
Yeah,
How's it going to be?
if the number is, if the payroll strong and the payroll reading is well above expected, we should expect the greenback to rise. However, we are not sure that that's actually going to happen. If the reading is bad, the dollar tends to fall. But again, we are not sure that it's going to happen because it's not just about payroll, it's about rates, it's about previous month's revisions, and it's about the unemployment rate. So if all the 4 numbers are positive, then maybe, yeah, we will have a nice rally in the greenback. If the 4 numbers are negative, we will have a fall in the greenback. If the 4 numbers are mixed, well, it's a wait and see, guys, and see what happens what will happen and how the market takes it.
Just a reminder, Val, the reason we're having the NFP today, in case anyone doesn't know, the U.S. is closed tomorrow. So anything you do, you're looking at a 3-day weekend if you're looking to position trade. And with all the geo events around the world right now, going home with positions over the weekend,
not a good idea.
It's almost like getting in front of the NFP now.
Yeah, someone's asking about if it's better to trade the dollar Japanese yen or the euro dollar. The fact is that considering the situations around the euro, I would incline myself to trade the dollar Japanese yen. Besides, it usually moves first and pretty much straight when the news is directional, right? So I rather go with the dollar Japanese yen rather than the euro. The euro is a tough bone to break these days, to be honest, guys. We had movements like what we had yesterday, a sudden spike to 1170, that was reversed towards 11030, all happening on Greek headlines, right? So the risk right now involving trading the euro is way too high for me, particularly with euros. At least for me, right? I'd rather go with the dollar yen, the Aussie, or pound. The euro is a pain in the butt these days.
Now, what about the gold? The gold is falling apart. It's falling for the third day.
I do believe that, well, I have said it plenty of times in these conversations with Dale. Gold is bearish, guys. It's a bearish trend, and you can go against that. The dollar has been pretty strong this week, so that is helping the commodity to fall. And the fact that it had not reacted as safe haven in the middle of the chaos we have the past 2 weeks over Greece, that's a pretty bearish signal for me. Of course, now right now the price is falling in anticipation of a strong report. If the report is bad, we may see a bounce. But I still believe that such bounces or spikes should be taken as selling opportunities.
I see.
It's not something I would like to buy at this point. Maybe at 11, but at this point I'm thinking about a test of 11.32, 31, which is the multi-year low post last November, if I'm not wrong. In here, yeah, 31.50. So it's possible that we'll reach this level. But the outlook is pretty bearish in the middle.
We've been talking 1080 in LAR for about a month.
1080?
So that's 1080.
Good.
That's Ricardo's count. I've been saying 1140 has to go before there's anything meaningful. They have to take those lows out, so not far away from that.
Then I will start buying gold. 10.50, 11.
Yeah.
I will be thinking about
Well, I don't think you can get hurt buying the physical anyway. At those levels.
I will buy physical and hide it into my backyard and leave it for my daughters as an inheritance.
Well, are people in Argentina with all the currency problems that have been going on there on and off for decades starting to look at Bitcoin as an alternative? Because there was a story of how this Greek crisis has really stirred interest in Bitcoin in the Eurozone, and not just out of Greece, across the Eurozone.
Yeah, there is some interesting in Bitcoin, but very limited. We have no culture of investment here, not big one, not spread, right? So there's a small organization that has a website in here that helps people work through the Bitcoin negotiations, how to use it to pay. There are some restaurants even these days that accept Bitcoin as payment, but it's very limited.
But at least you have a currency to spend when your financial system isn't operating.
That will be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. This month, the government has sold the highest amount of greenbacks to the people, right? In all the year. It's the highest level this July, and we are at the day 2, and the government has already sold like 500 millions to savers, because in here we have that kind of culture. If you want to save money, you have to buy the dollar and save it. You don't save local money, you don't save gold, you don't save bitcoins, you save greenbacks.
Governments want to go digital, Val. Then they can control everything you do.
What?
That governments, there's a war on cash going on across the globe.
Yeah.
And governments want to go digital. That will give them complete control. There'll be no underground economy, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, well, I guess we are going through that place, but not yet. Anyway, there's a huge.
So I think
Yeah.
it's a good idea to learn about cryptocurrency. I'm completely ignorant about it, but I think it's a good idea to begin to educate yourself about that as it being a hedge against bank deposits.
Could be. Anyway, there's this huge black market in New York currencies and gold and everything you can buy that has some value.
Have you studied cryptocurrency, Mauricio?
Sorry.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I am busy with the stocks and
Yeah.
commodities and forex, you know.
I
Okay.
have started,
Yeah, we will have. Sorry,
Sorry, go on.
but we will have an interesting interview next week, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the. Let me check the. Yeah, it's Jesse
Yeah, see,
Powell next Thursday. Jesse Powell from Kraken FX. That is a San Francisco-based company specialized in Bitcoin. So it will be
Okay,
nice.
great. I will be there then.
Yeah, he's the CEO. He's the CEO, so he will have really good remarks on that.
Okay. 1 week from now, Thursday?
Yeah, yeah, this day, today, the next week.
Okay, great.
And it's recorded, Val. So all the interviews, if you can't be there live, they're there for people to use as a teaching tool at their convenience.
Great. Okay, the pound.
Actually, yesterday I saw the Martin Armstrong interview that Dale recorded last like 1 month ago or 3 weeks ago, and there was still people who wanted to watch that, especially with Puerto Rico and Greece debt problems. You know, so it's interesting to watch the recording here in the lab. So we are 3 minutes away. Just to remember that we have like a 30 seconds delayed. So guys, you will see the data coming out, the numbers, and then the initial reaction, and 30 seconds after that, we'll start. We will be starting commenting the reaction of the reaction. Yeah, the action of the reaction. Okay.
Do you think, there's a question that says, do you think the Greek crisis will send stocks markets downwards? Of course.
It's actually happening. It's actually happening.
It's what we are seeing in the market these days. I'm particularly following the DAX because it's the German benchmark. Not because I trade much of stocks, but because I want to see how the market is feeling or digesting this Greek crisis. And the daily chart has shown that the index has been holding above this critical level, right, for most of this June. But we also have this higher lows and the unfilled gap of the
The
weekend.
DAX 2 has not filled the gap.
Yeah, not the DAX, not the London benchmark. I follow it too. Is it the year lows? The London
Neither the S&P, neither too. S&P is, yeah, look at
and
that
any of them.
drop.
The UK, I do believe neither also. I watch main benchmarks. Just watch them, not trade them, but I follow them to see what's going on. And the S&P either. Well, they're both with those huge gaps here. We are in fact in the S&P at a critical level, and we are struggling to hold above it. So if we lost it, goes the week below this area, I would
That
expect.
still hasn't filled the gap. My view is if we are setting up for this summer correction in equities, it will not be a conducive environment for long dollar positions. My belief will be that there'll be outflows of the dollar during that correction,
Okay,
maybe even into emerging markets.
ready, set. We are
That
almost.
would a lower dollar would take the pressure off of emerging markets.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
a
here we
lower
go.
S&P equals a lower dollar in my book.
Couple of seconds to go, and the dollar is trying to rally, but the news is not yet out. So let's give it a minute. Nervous market. Don't touch anything. Wait, because we're going to make a mess. Okay, we are going against the greenback in an initial reaction. Not sure what's going on.
Must be weak.
223
Yeah, below the
below expectation.
jobless claim rose, but there our earnings wage are bad, 0. Oh,
The unemployment rate down.
unemployment
1.1
only
down.
one positive. It fell down to 5.3%, lowest in years, but it's not.
Labor participation down, incredibly down. Okay.
Well, not a
So
good
the
number.
biggest reaction was in the currency markets. S&Ps are actually they like it. So bad news might be good news, at least for a little while. This means this number gives the Fed more latitude to move the goalposts. S&Ps are firming up while the dollar sells off. So it looks like the pound did go to the number talked about all week. I didn't buy the pound even though it was in my zone pre-NFP.
Yeah.
I'm going to let it do whatever it wants to do today and approach the markets on Monday.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, it went right to it. What was the low in the pound? 560.
The next resistance in pound is 956.45, which is the 38.2% retracement, of that bearish run. It had held above it for long and yesterday broke. We need to recover that to call for an upward continuation in pound. Quite limited reaction in the market, right? The Swiss is almost flat. Euro can regain 11 so far. The only one shooting up the report is gold that is aiming to regain 1160.
And it was the lowest jobs participation rate since 1977. And the previous 2 months, there is a 60,000 downward revision in Nonfarm Payrolls. Pretty bad, I think. Pretty bad numbers.
Oh, big revision, yeah.
Yeah, pretty bad numbers.
So when does the Fed start QE?
Next year, December maybe, next year.
You hear the Fed will not resume quantitative easing. I promise you. I bet you a Coke.
Okay. No Diet Coke. I drink the hard stuff. Right?
I'd rather drink
I'm a man.
plain water than Diet Coke.
Yeah. Ugh. I know. You and I are old school hardcore, Bill. So the yen, it's interesting. The yen went right to the gap and fell. So where are the dollar bolts now, I ask you. So this is pretty negative action on a day. If these moves stick, that may have been it for the dollar. So
Yeah.
pound looks good. Pound could rally above that 159.5 and rally to like the 164 level as a possible target. And I think this kind of puts the nail in the coffin of this recent dollar bounce.
I think so. The euro is regaining 111.
So if you put a daily dollar index chart, I think we're going to attack the lows again.
I had a problem with the chart, and it froze. It stopped updating. It was
Okay.
broker, so I don't have it right now. But I will be
Okay.
looking for another broker that has it. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Not sure why, but it was not updating.
So in my pre-NFP, pre-market update, I told people to be careful about being exuberant about the dollar, that the pound was entering this buy zone, and here we are. It manifested.
Yeah, the market was pricing in a strong number, and we had a weak one.
Yeah.
So here we are. The reversals are strong. We lost 23 in the end, and get ready for a stronger decline in there.
One of our Larians, Pegasus, says Guppy looks like it's going to 190.60 from here. So actually, the Guppy, another pair that never filled the gap from Sunday night.
Yeah, will not.
It's almost like a broken chart. It not only broke through the uptrend line, it gapped it. So, pretty negative action in the Guppy.
So we will have Adam Baron as guest in like a 5 minutes to try to interpret that recent release. There is I am reading here there was like 400,000 people left labor force. So,
Yeah, I said not a pretty report indeed.
yeah.
Look how the euro came off your blue moving average there.
Yeah, that's the 100 simple moving average in the early. I like it. I like the 100 and the 200 and almost both closes. Not because I trade them. I know the market trades them, and it's pretty possible that we have selling interest and buying interest around those moving average, and they're pretty pretty reliable. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. In the short term, usually, not in the middle of a payroll. Not that maybe that's my favorite moment of the market, but still. Sorts are pretty mute number. The Eurozone able to hold gains. Do you see that?
So we have an extraterrestrial, a couple of them in LAR, and Alien Ovage is saying we get through those highs, we're going to 114. We get through the lows, looks like 107 is what he's saying. So looks like that's a critical resistance level on his work.
1120 has been proven to be pretty strong static level in the past. So I would like to see a pair establishing above this high, that high in 1120, before betting for an upward continuation.
Be right back.
Okay.
So what do you think about the Australian dollar? You see regarding the 76.50.
What regarding what?
The Australian dollar.
But what part? Yeah. As I said earlier, I believe that the pair it's been weighed by the weakness in New Zealand dollar we have set sort of a short-term double floor right now with the report, but I don't see the risk turning to the upside right now. I believe that we may continue falling after this noise payrolls passes, because overall the market is expecting the economy to keep on adding rates, and despite the rate differential between Australia and the US, we will still looking for a lower low. I don't know. Maybe if we break about 76, 50, 60 to be better, then the pair may recover up to 77, but I don't see much of an upward potential still in there. On the other hand, if we lost the lows, I would expect to run towards 74 in the upcoming days.
Which number? Sorry.
74. If we
74.
lost, yeah, I mean, we can recover up to 77 intraday. Not today, seems pretty unlikely, because the market is showing a quite limited reaction against the greenback after this quick report. We can go down to 74 if we lost 75, 80 here, which is where we have that double bottom. Sorry. I'm still unable to get rid of this pull completely.
Let's see.
So now we have a reference point next week for bearishness in U.S. dollar yen. If we get some type of, after this day, we get some follow through, look to sell the next fib retrace and have a reference point at today's high, which is a lower high from that 2460 level. So your intuition, we keep putting in lower highs.
Yeah.
And I think eventually we're going to break down, and 118's in the cards. And now you have a nice stop loss point. You could either use that double top up at 24.5, or if today's losses stick in the end, you could look for retraces to short against today's highs. And to me, it looks like it's in the cake now, and I'm looking for 110 during the summer into the fall in U.S. dollar yen. That's my Nostra Pinkert call. I wonder if Adam's here. Adam's here with us.
Adam is here. Yeah.
Hey, how are you, Adam? How's it going today, buddy?
Hi, good. Always exciting on Nonfarm Payrolls Friday. Big moves in market.
Yeah, the market disappointed. The Twitter streams were full of bullish dollar comments all morning yesterday. All the dollar bulls coming back out of the closet. Kind of a disappointing day for them, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and the numbers are weak. There's no really skew in it. Poor revisions, participation rate jumping, and the big one that's often overlooked is the average hourly earnings. The Fed wants to see growth in wages in the month, and in what was otherwise a good month, and year over year, wages up just 2% compared to 2.3 expected. So I'm not surprised to see the dollar weaken off, and now the question is what happens before the weekend.
Well, remember we talked earlier in the week, or was it last week, Adam? And you were talking. It was Monday with all the Greece news, and you said the euro was very difficult to trade in this environment. And I said, well, what about a short in the pound up here at 58, 57.5, looking for that 55 handle to be generated here? Do you think that there's potential here in the pound going forward to the upside, and the weakness in the yen was only able to fill the gap that we have something happening on the upside in the pound and downside in U.S. dollar yen?
Yeah, you look at the pound, you start to get into some support around the 55 handle for 55.50. I think it is the 50% retracement of that June move. Got a little bit of a bounce off that, but it's faded here fairly quickly, and I think that speaks to some of the reluctance to hang on to the pound. So maybe we skid around here a little bit, but I do like the downside a little bit, and we will need to see something better from the dollar. But what's going to happen, I think, the bigger trend in markets, you're going to get the dollar kicked lower, and the Fed might not hike so much, and that is going to manifest itself in good news for the U.S. stock market. And what we've seen more than anything over the past few weeks is the risk trade as U.S. dollar positive. I mean, strictly U.S. dollar positive, right across the board almost. And if the stock market begins to bubble up on this, the futures are just up a couple points, but if it starts to bubble up, the U.S. dollar could take back all these losses, especially in something like dollar yen. A little less so in cable because it's been so lumpy, but that's something I might look for this afternoon.
Well, I keep looking at the retrace we've had in the S&P, and we haven't even retraced half. Most of the strength happened during dollar strength, so you're right. It seems to be that stronger or supportive stocks they do better with a strong dollar. A weak dollar, I think, could be the theme if we finally get this 10% correction. And if the S&P can't fill the gap in the next couple of days, to me, it looks vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's same with the euro. It's trying to fill that in as well in the other direction. You know, it's interesting with the correlations because the dollar on the risk trade used to weaken off. You know, it's flipped in that way, and I think it's really starting to solidify itself. Now, the other question you have to ask is stocks only have whatever 8 hours of trading left in the week, and you have so much risk of a huge risk event on Sunday in the Greek referendum, and I think a lot of traders are going to look back to last week and remember that you woke up and you saw markets get destroyed on Monday. So if Greece were to vote no, it would probably be a replay of the same thing, and you might see some risk trades paired on that. So there's still a few chapters to be written in the week.
What's your take on the Puerto Rico debt time bomb, Adam?
I mean, I think it's a good time to default if you don't want to spook the market because so much focus is on Greece and everything else. You know, it shows really the emerging markets and the strains that are out there, and you know, Puerto Rico, it's just evident of that. Once again, we look at the developed world, we think the United States is leading it, and that's true, but you look to Brazil, you look to even China, and it's not as strong in the global economy. Really, it needs to be to keep some of these, leaky boats afloat.
They need a weaker dollar, these emerging markets. It would take some of the pressure off them, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, some days a stronger dollar would help as well if there's in the export market. And what could happen? Get some weaker commodities, it would help. So, I mean, it depends on the country, though, and the commodity exporters as well if you use the stronger commodities. But right now it's a tough economy almost everywhere, and that's really going to expose the countries that don't have their finances in order, because I don't think this is going to end over the next 10 years or so. So it's just a muddling economy.
Nice tail in your loonie today. They tried to take it down. Look at the difference in the tails between USD CAD and US dollar yen on Val's charts. And I know you're positive USD CAD. I think you were talking about 130.
Yeah,
but I think the yen is an important market tell, don't you think? I mean, 10-year yields are near the recent highs, and the correlation I work off of is higher yields is higher U.S. dollar yen. Yeah. And the bonds are probably the most hated market in the world. Perhaps the weakness in U.S. dollar yen is saying don't push the short side of bonds right in here.
Right, and well, bonds are. I mean, the shorts are hanging in there pretty well. Still down up 3 basis points in the yield today. But yeah, you're going to want to watch it closely. But the U.S. dollar right back against CAD, right back against Aussie, and the one I'm watching, we talked about it the other day too, in terms of Canadian dollar. I think it's going to 130 is oil. They've been preaching patience in oil shorts, and I think it's an amazing trade. That you look down here at yesterday.
Heading towards the mid-50s. Yeah.
And
you're looking for much lower numbers.
I am looking for much lower, but I'm trying to be patient at the same time because it's not quite set up there yet. But I think maybe get this bounce back to 58, 58.50. That it's probably time to start scaling into shorts, and dollar CAD longs as well.
Val, how are things looking with the fades in here? That blue moving average was a great trade in the euro.
Yeah, the 100 simple moving average, the 1 hour chart. I don't know. I don't see much of a euro potential anywhere, as I told you before, because the market is too worried about what's going on in Greece. As I thought earlier in the day, we have some non-farm payrolls. In a couple more hours, the market will turn back its attention to whatever happens in Greece and in Europe. So the euro is not my preferred choice for trading these days. Anyway, as long as the pair is unable to regain 1120, I don't see much of an upward potential in there. And if in fact we lost the low of this candle, we can go back down to the weekly low, right?
Yes. So Adam, I asked Val this question. Let me ask you, does the referendum, besides what happens for 24 hours, matter?
Well, as we were discussing earlier, I don't believe that the referendum is what actually matters. Sorry, but the fact that after the referendum, they will resume negotiations in Europe, right? That's what the market is really waiting for. Whether the yes or the no wins, is I don't believe it will have a big effect in the troika.
What do you think? What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I think it'll last for a few days, the same as it has now, because you're going to have so much uncertainty. I mean, Varoufakis is now saying he's going to resign. He's the finance minister in Greece if they lose. Tsipras likely do the same. You have a weird constitution in Greece where you actually can't call a snap election. The mandate will fall to the previous government because they've already called a snap election. And the market's going to have to sort that out. I think it's a risk trade more than a euro trade. And I think that's the way to play it. Even something like dollar yen might be a little bit more straightforward than necessarily I'm kicking and screaming the euro, because like Val said and like I've said before, it's a difficult trade in the euro. And there's a time and place to take a difficult trade, and I'm not sure this is it. At the end of the day, I think it could be bullish for the Greece if the euro gets kicked out, or Greece. It could be bullish for the euro if Greece is removed from the Eurozone. But I think they're going to lose the referendum at this point. I think you have a referendum, and it really comes down to defiance on the one hand and fear on the other. And it's very rare for the defiance vote to be strong enough to overcome the fear of change and uncertainty and bank deposits and capital controls and the new currency. And if it's close and it looks close, then the votes are going to swing towards the yes side.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to have a risk relief trade probably on that. And it's not necessarily great for the euro because you start to see the funding again in the euro. It's probably a better story for the US dollar. Broadly, and maybe stay away from the euro because it will be choppy, and that's sort of the way I anticipate it will be playing out. But going into the weekend, there's going to be a lot more of the fear in markets rather than optimism about that result. The same as we see in every, the UK referendum, UK election, every sort of big political event.
Love that. Defiance and fear. What beautiful emotions are running through that country. Defiance and fear.
Like interesting times.
Yeah. Okay, but I will ask you in 1 minute what happened with the Nonfarm Payroll, with the US employment report, and what will happen in the next few hours.
Right. It's a disappointing report. Certainly the wage inflation numbers are weak, the revisions are weak, participation is weak. The story is, again, it's still 223,000 jobs though, and even if you take away the revisions, you're up above 200,000 jobs. I think if you're the Fed, you look at that and you say, well, it's still about where we expected it to be. Wage inflation may come down the line, not right away. And the U.S. is, I think the risk trade can really manifest itself here, and stocks can rise unless you get very jittery about Greece. So those are the kind of two things you have to balance. And maybe like Val says, we're at the point where Greece doesn't matter that much, and stocks are starting to feel a little bit better. But it's the start of the quarter as well, in the second half of the year, so flows get awfully choppy. But if you had to put it on me, I can see a comeback in dollar yen. I don't want to sit on the fence, and I think that's a trade I see, and perhaps the dollar higher against the commodity currencies as well.
Thank you for
Okay.
joining us today, Adam. Go ahead, Mauricio.
Yeah, no, thank you, Adam. And what about you, Val? What do you think? What happened, and what will happen in the short term?
Well, as Adam said, the report was pretty disappointing. Not bad, but disappointing indeed. I believe that the worst concern in the report is the flat growth in wage, that we have no growth there. That is the main issue for the Fed these days. I don't know what will happen with Greece. So I do see a strong level of uncertainty still waiting on the markets. Not to mention we are getting into summer in the North Hemisphere, so that will lead to some drop in volatility. But for the most, I do believe that over the next hours, the market will consolidate its range. Maybe the pound may be able to advance further. I don't see much of an upward potential in the euro. And as Sam said, I do agree that we are going to have a lot more of risk trading related to the Greek matter than anything else, which makes me consider shorting the dollar to yen if it falls below that we have just posted. Canadian dollar is playing a different game from the Australian and the New Zealand one. I do believe that the antipodean currencies are still looking for lower lows, and Canadian dollar will be more related to whatever reaction we have in oil these days. And the sharp decline we see the last 2 days may be reverted today with a weaker greenback. Let's see if that happens. So that will mean an upward potential for Canadian dollar. Right? And something I forgot to mention earlier today, the Swiss was at higher highs earlier today, and I was looking at the Euro chart because it reached 500. That means that regardless what you're saying or not, the S&P is doing some intervention in the Swiss market, right? They are buying some euros. They are trying to limit the fall in this particular pair, right? So be aware of that. Be aware of sudden movements in Swiss franc out of the blue, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, so in one word, what do you think about Greece? It will go out, or will remain inside the euro?
To be honest, I don't know at this point. To be really honest, I have no clue what will happen. I do believe and I agree with Adam that the ES will probably win on the weekend, and that should mean that Varoufakis and Tsiripas will be closer to resign. Varoufakis as what he has said today. But one thing is what politicians want and do, and the other is what the people feel and see when they have to go to the supermarket and they don't have the cash and they have to pay their bills. So honestly, I don't know. I don't believe the yes will win, sorry, but from there on, I have no clue what will happen.
So they are gonna lose the referendum. The Greece government are gonna lose the referendum.
Yeah, the yes will win. The people will want to stay in the euro area.
And Adam, so in or out?
Yeah, I think the one thing that's been consistent in all the Greek polls over the years is that the public wants to stay in the euro. You know, they kind of want to have it both ways in terms of wages and pensions, but I think ultimately the euro is that sign of stability that Greece clings to. And yeah, for that, I think they stick around, even if they have to throw another round of politicians overboard. And, you know, this is going to go on and on. You know, for me, and probably for most people out there who've written or read about Greece for 7 years now, we'd like to see the final chapter, but this probably isn't going to be it, sadly.
Okay. What do you think, Dale? What will we see in the next few hours? In fact, when we will be in the live analysis
well, the
room.
pound went to talked about targets within a handful of pips, close enough for government work. I believe the pound either has or is in a bottoming phase between here and possibly as low as 55, looking for a sharply higher pound. I also believe that the yen filled the gap in a pretty negative day. I'm very bearish U.S. dollar yen. I think you have a couple of reference points to control your risk over today's highs of 460. And also believe that the S&P is unable to fill the gap, that this dollar weakness or US dollar yen weakness will catch up with it later in the session. Looking for a minimum of a 10% correction in the S&Ps. I actually think we could see 1800 into the fall, and I could think we could see a 110 US dollar yen and a 165 pound. So that's where I stand.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Adam, for coming. Thank you, Valeria, for coming and for providing us you both all of your thoughts or your opinion. And thank you, Dale. Dale, just one last question. Do you can explain us what's going on in the live analysis room that we will move right now?
Well, it's a lot like what we're doing here. People sharing ideas, showing their work through screenshots. I call it a mastermind community. I feel fortunate to be surrounded by traders that are very good. You know, this target in the pound that I've been talking about all week came from a few different members. All my ideas are not original thought, and don't trade alone. And that's really the purpose of LAR, is we only have two eyes, but if you're surrounded by trained, proficient traders that are willing to share their ideas for free, I think you found FX Nirvana. And that's what LAR is for people.
1 + 1 = 11, I see.
Or 1100.
Or 1100.
Or maybe 1100 now, Maury.
Yeah, that's right.
Val, great working with you a couple of times this week. Adam, great working with you a few times this week. I think that when all of us get together, in my extremely accurate and humble opinion, we're the best crew on the net for covering live events. So thank you, guys. This is definitely an example of 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = 1111. So that's
Okay.
Pinkert math, and everyone have a great weekend. If you're interested in sticking around, I'm sure Larians are going to have a lot of ideas. I also have an interview with Vicky Schmelzer coming up in a little over an hour. Vicky's an author of a very good FX book, and she also is in tune with the fundamentals of the market. So it's been fun. Great hanging out with you guys.
Okay, thank you, Dale, and
Thank you.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you,
Bye-bye.
Dave.
Peace.
All right, adios.
See you in the FX room. Bye-bye.
See you in the room.
Bye-bye. Thank you, guys.